Hi, everybody. It's Patrick Kirby from Do Good Better Consulting, and happy morning to you. We've got a great guest expert training today. I am ecstatic to have my friend Lexi from the FM Area Foundation. Lexi, how are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
Outstanding. So today we are going to pull back the veil of mystery on community foundations. And I think really as fundraisers and fundraising organizations, if you are not involved with your foundation or your community foundation at all, it can be a little kind of scary. So we're going to talk with Lexi about all things community foundation, all things opportunities that you and your organization and your donors have to partner with them. But first, Lexi, introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? How did you get there? And all things bio. Let's go.
Yes, I am Lexi Oestreich. I am the program officer over at the Fargo-Moorhead Area Foundation in Fargo, North Dakota. We are a place-based community foundation, which means we just serve 2 counties, Cass and Clay County here in our area. I have been with the foundation almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years here next month. I am an MSUM Dragon alum, woohoo, and I have a degree in community and public health, and mom of 2, and busy.
I love it. That sounds awesome. Okay, so let's start with the super basics. If nobody knows what on earth a community foundation is, let's start with that. So what's a community foundation? Why do you exist? And then maybe even give a little background on the FM Area Foundation's history, because I think that's a really interesting tale that's woven into the community here as well.
Yes, yep. And I think your first thing we probably need to just get out there is if you've seen one community foundation, you've seen one community foundation. Every single community foundation is different in the way they provide philanthropic services, the way they do grant making, the way who they work with, how they work with them. Everyone's a little bit different. But one thing is common in what community foundations are is that we were created by a community member that had the vision that there needed to be a flexible community foundation that serves a wide variety of needs. So when you look at the foundation landscape, we're different than your typical private family foundation or a corporate foundation that was created by a corporation, organized by, a board of trustees or a high level, managing their grant making, or a medical foundation, for example, where it's a sale of a hospital or something like that. A community foundation is completely different. The FM Area Foundation was created in 1960, and we had one donor and that really said, we need to have a community foundation that serves Cass and Clay County, that is that flexible funder. And that fund started with $100 in one fund, and now the Fargo-Moorhead Area Foundation manages about 365 different funds, and we're just shy of $81 million in total assets.
Remarkable.
The first 27 years we had 0 staff. We were in a desk drawer in a trust office here locally in a local bank, and we hired our first staff, and now we have grown. We have 6.5 staff members. That is the largest the FM Area Foundation has ever been. So that's a little bit about community foundation, how we were started, and really kind of what a community foundation is really. We get to be kind of that philanthropic vehicle. So we manage a wide variety of different component funds. Usually donors come to us with some sort of idea of how they want to handle their philanthropy, and we get to be that vehicle. And sort of the buffer between maybe individuals wanting to do charitable work and how organizations that are providing that charitable work or doing that and receiving the grants from that fund.
So maybe you can talk about that. So let's start with the donor. So I'm a donor. I've got some money that I wanted to invest in the community. I don't really know what I really like yet, but I know that I've got a philanthropic bone in my body that I want to just, let's do this. Yeah. So what's my first step? Because I think a lot of organizations only think about how a donor or an individual or a family can help them as an organization. And I think it's really interesting to say, well, why don't we consider a couple of options and a couple of things that may make you, the donor, feel really great, which is really what we're trying to do from these transformative gifts anyway, right? So let's start there. Like, how would I approach you as a foundation from a donor's perspective? And then I kind of want to tail into a conversation about how can organizations help move donors through you to them or to make them feel great. But let's just start with the start. Yep. I'm a donor. I'm coming to you. What's my first step?
Yep. So, donors that come to us, they are, they find us on the internet. They, find a variety of different things, can come through us a lot of different ways. A lot of the donors that we work with are coming maybe as a referral basis from a professional advisor or a state planner, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So a donor comes to us, we sit down and we talk about all things donor stewardship. What type of fund do you want to leave? What type of impact do you want to make? Are you looking to, really leave a legacy with your fund and support some of these charities, not just today and next year and the year after, but in 30 years from now? And that's when we really talk about, do we want an endowed fund where you're just spending a portion of that fund, or if you're wanting more of a pass-through where it's liquid assets and we're just sort of the vehicle and the checkbook, so to say, for that type of philanthropy. We have some funds some donors that create both. One, to really do a lot of their philanthropic moving of dollars and everything's coming out of the foundation. We handle the due diligence. We make sure that it's charitable intent. Things are in good standing, all of those types of things. And then they also create the endowment piece that's really saying, well, I love all of these charities and I've been supporting them for years. I want to make sure that long after I'm gone, they're still receiving support from me and leaving that legacy. And we actually get more of that than you think of folks that say, I want to leave a legacy. I want to support, whatever charity, and I want to support them for the rest of time, long after I'm gone, long after my kids are gone. And that's what's a little bit unique with the community foundation. I mean, we've got, most of our assets are permanently endowed. We're going to be here for the rest of time. And so that's why people put money here. That's why they, create funds. And so we really kind of talk about what type of legacy they want to live. Where do you want to support? Are you supporting some local, and then really just talk to them about, what do you care about? What do you care about autism because one of your grandsons has autism? Really kind of get to know that donor on a really personal basis, because then we really can help steward them in a lot of different areas. They may not know all of the nonprofits that are working in certain areas of autism or certain areas of community development or prairie restoration efforts or whatever the case may be. And so we really get to be the expert a little bit and really help connect them a lot with purposes that in our tagline at the foundation is connecting people in purpose. And that's really the core of what we do. And sometimes it's a phone call from somebody that's trying to find a certain charity and they're wanting our expert opinion, and we connect the dots, and it has nothing to do with starting the fund at the foundation or at all, but really we're just trying to connect them the best way we can. So that's the donor perspective.
That's super interesting, because I think organizations that are not community foundations, just regular old nonprofits that are trying to navigate life, has the same exact sort of philosophy about sort of this, they need to have the same about abundance, right? You wouldn't say that it's interesting on how many people donate to your organization towards the end of the year. Like, it's just, and it's amazing, right? So there's also probably a surprising amount of people who have the ability to do that, but they don't really know what vehicle to do. So there's this abundance mindset that I think you guys have that I think a lot of organizations do. It's also interesting about how your process about finding what matters to a donor inside is exactly the same process that needs to be followed by every organization, which is trying to find what they're really passionate about and connecting the dots, even if the dots don't lead back to you as an organization. And I think it's a really hard thing to swallow as a nonprofit, because you're like, oh, I'm leaving money on the table. I'm not. You're the vehicle that makes the donor feel great, and they're going to remember that. And so they're going to appreciate you, and they'll probably leave you a gift because you were helping. And that's kind of the interesting thing. So an organization that may link up with some of your donors' intent or your donors, how do you connect with them? And then maybe how does an organization build a relationship with you? in order for you to know what they do well and how you can connect with donors who may be in that same interest level.
Mm-hmm. And this is sort of my rule of thumb working with any community foundation or any foundation in general is from nonprofits. If you're trying to connect with fund holders of the foundation, or you're trying to connect to unrestricted grant rounds, or you're trying to connect to learning series, or you're trying to connect to just the resource of what a community foundation can do, you really have to get to know the program officer or a staff member of the FMRA Foundation or a staff member of any foundation. I say this when you're talking with some of the big foundations out there, pick up the phone and be,
Yes.
I mean, these people, yes, it might take me a little while to get back, but some of these larger foundations, be diligent. Send them an email, invite them to coffee, send them a coffee gift card for $5. They'll remember you, they'll take your conversation, and they'll take your call. And you have to build the platform and understand that, especially if you're looking for funding, like for me, from an unrestricted grant round, we fund a lot of different things, and a lot of foundations fund a lot of different things. Sometimes you're not the best fit for what the foundation has to do or their strategic directions. Not all foundations just have a big pot of money and they're just, going to just support everybody that comes along. We also do have strategic directions we have to follow in areas that we have. So that's from an unrestricted grant realm, or from an unrestricted grant side of things. Mm-hmm. But just getting involved with the foundation, coming to learning series, coming to a variety of things where you can engage and really understand the umbrella of which a community foundation operates and all the different resources we offer. Greg Deal, our development officer at the FMRA Foundation, last year, I think he took over 5 different phone calls helping nonprofits steward large gifts. It had nothing to do with the foundation, but he's an expert in the field, and he helped say, oh, well, you got to do this, and you got to do this, and you got to do this. And so really recognizing that we are very much a resource in a kind of, we know a lot about philanthropic giving. We have a lot of donors that come to us, a lot of community members that come to us and really trust that we are going to be able to steward them, or at least point them in the right direction. And so kind of recognizing, building relationships, and we talk about relationships a lot with donors, from nonprofits, building relationships with donors, but really building relationships with funders and, continuing that open dialogue.
Yeah, that you bring up a really good point too, is that a lot of nonprofits think that they have to be experts in plan giving, major giving, capital campaigns, donor stewardship, like all these scary sort of words, bequests and wills and trusts and whatever. You don't. And in fact, the less you know about it or being an expert at, the more beneficial it is for you to build a relationship with a donor, because you can say, I'm not the expert at that. I'm the expert at my organization and how you can help. But I've got a relationship with Lexi over at the FM Area Foundation who can connect you to the person who can answer every one of your questions. It makes you look like you've got partners in high places, because you do, right? And then it gives you the opportunity to follow up with the donor as another touch point. So you're taking your donor, and you're probably scared crapless about how to answer the question. And not only do you get to come off as, I'm going to find the best person for you that may not be me. I'm going to get you the expert techniques and expert advice that you need for your gift. And you look like you're, sort of hanging with the big organizations, because you're putting them in a position to feel great about what they and they're answering the questions in the right way. And you get another talking point. You get to follow up and say, "Hey, I got great news. I did some research and I did some connections for you, right? And I'm gonna put you in touch with Greg, who's going to talk to you about all things sort of planned giving." Right? So you don't need to be a planned giving expert, because you've got one sitting at the desk right across the hallway from Lexi, for goodness sakes, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And we do a lot more of that than maybe people realize. We do a lot more of just really talking with donors, getting referrals and just saying, okay, here are some options. Here are kind of some steps. Oh, you want to make a gift of stock, or you want, whatever the case may be, you want to IRA, charitable rollover, whatever. We're a wealth of knowledge, and we're always here. That's, really, kind of a baseline principle of us, that we are here to support nonprofits and philanthropic giving, even if it has nothing to do with dollars coming in the foundation. As long as we're going to hope get money in your organization, that's really our end goal. It's not about.
Yes, as part of your Rolodex as a small or medium-sized nonprofit, you need to make sure that you are in constant contact with your auditor to ask auditing questions, and you need to be friends with your community foundation and their expertise, because then that means you don't need to know anything about auditing or anything about all these complicated gifts, and you become sort of the conduit, the same way that you're a conduit to some of these donors and organizations. Mm-hmm. You as a fundraiser or as an organization that doesn't have the time or expertise in these fields to make friends with you. Yes, I love that. Okay, so if I'm an organization, I can go to your learning series, I can make coffee for you, or I can buy you coffee. I can invite you to a sort of a lunch date to kind of get to know you. At what point do you make a connection in your brain about a donor coming in and then an organization that you've met with? And how does your process go to say maximum potential, maximum sort of build here? These two would be perfect. And what does that relationship look like in the back recesses of your office that's all mysterious?
Yes, and that is, because we are a small office, donor stewardship is really Greg's world. He does a lot of working with our donors, getting to know our donors, and then he really relies on me to really know the nonprofit side of things and knowing, what kind of programming is happening, where are the challenges, who's innovating their programming, who's doing something different or new or really well, or whatever the case may be. I rely heavily on just kind of getting out in the community, being on your mailing list. I love, trust me, we circulate every single newsletter, every single print material that a nonprofit sends us. It gets fully circulated through our entire staff. So we are reading your stories about the local client you served, last month, and how your help. We read those, and I read them, but our staff reads them. We go across, have to check our box after we've read them and looked at them. And then guess what? I save them. I have a whole entire file of each one of nonprofits that submit things or send things to us. And I have a file. And so really when Greg is, across the table with the donor, and we're really in the depths of really learning about that donor, we can say, well, do you know about this organization? Here's some information. They may have never received your mailing. They may have never, but then I, myself, and Greg can kind of talk about, well, here's what they're doing in the community. Here's the impact they're making. And then we really look at trends of, we manage 370 funds. So we deal with a lot of fund advisors. Some of those funds are now second generation. So there's a whole different generation to engage, and maybe they have different causes they want to maybe support now that they're in charge of the philanthropy on the fund and advising on the fund than maybe their parents had, or their grandparents for that matter. And we really say, okay, where are they supporting? And then really, see if there's certain areas where, okay, wow, they're very interested in the arts. Okay, that's wonderful. Let's make sure they're aware of X, Y, and Z that's happening in the art community, all of the different things. And that's really a phone call to them, an email to them. And sometimes it's we're not hounding them. We're not, going to push it down their throats by any means. But we're really going to help kind of connect them. And a lot of the time they just want to be aware of it. And we've found that, well, yeah, I may not use my fund money at the foundation, but I really care about this. I'm going to support it personally. And so kind of getting to know what works for the donor. And then we also do an e-newsletter where we feature different things every month to our professional advisor community and our fund advisors. It's a list of about 400. And so we really highlight a couple of different organizations each month talking about, did you know, and then about a local nonprofit and a local program or did you know they're currently fundraising for this? Or did you know, they are serving 158 kids in after school programming, and they need markers and pens and whatever the case may be. So that's a couple of ways we do it. We are launching something new that we hope to do that even more. Greg and I have been connecting people in purpose for 5+ years that he and I have been here, in a very grassroots way of, oh, okay, you care about local at-risk youth. Okay, let me tell you about some of the programs that are happening in at-risk youth. Now we have the ability, it's called the Fargo-Moorhead Area Caring Catalog.
Ooh, tell me more. This sounds very interesting.
And it actually launches today.
Yes.
And it is really a crowdfunding site for nonprofits. And so think GoFundMe for nonprofits. You go and you go support those GoFundMe sites for someone who's ill, or this is really a crowdfunding site for nonprofits. So we have 66 organizations participating, and so they all submitted a very specific need that they're looking for fundraising for in the next 8 weeks. And we are going to do our very best to connect as many people with those purposes and those causes and those needs in our community this holiday season. And so we're doing some large marketing, but we're also doing a lot of internal marketing to our fund advisors that need to spend out their funds for the year, to professional advisors and things like that do end of the year giving, because it really is it's a very unique platform to learn about a lot of different needs in our community. It's a shopping kind of atmosphere. You're going to go and be able to scroll through all the different things and learn about very specific $5,000 needs and how donors can collectively kind of make that happen.
I feel like you undersold the magnitude of how amazing that this is, because this is going to change the game for not only how communities can sort of watch what you do with the FM Area Foundation, and how this is going to really impact end of year giving. And think of it as like a donor Christmas tree, right? So you probably have an organization where you go into and you pick off, hey, this is a need off a Christmas tree. I need to buy socks for this organization, or I need to buy gloves for this, right? You've seen those in the community. This is a massive version of that in gifts of like $5,000, like needs of $5,000. Like we needs to buy baskets for foster families with animals, right? And this is what the cost is. We're trying to raise enough to get 20 new foster families here. Please help us here. And then all of a sudden it gets crossed off. It's like this giant this wish list in bulk form for end of year giving, so that donors who love tangible things, right, and are getting inundated with end of year gifts and whatever, this is just a giant portal. You get to go, all right, like you said, it's a shopping list. It's a Christmas list of generosity. You're like, I want to go this. It's incredible. It's incredible.
And we are really excited. And it is exactly just that. I mean, and we made sure that nonprofits, the submissions that came in were specific. I mean, if you want to support a holiday food basket, for a local family, give $25 here. If you want to help buy another kayak for river keepers, here's where you can go here. And really, donors can then go through this list. They can add, okay, I want to give $100 to here. I want to give $100 to here. Give $100 to here, add it to their cart. It's one transaction, and then we take care of the tax receipt, all the tax things on our end, and really we are taking care of all credit card fees. 100% of the donation that is given through the Caring Catalog will go directly to the nonprofit and the purpose and the specific need they're funding for. We're not taking.
My mind is blown. My mind is blown.
Things. It is 100%, and we're waive all of the things. And then, first part of that first week of January, we're going to be cutting checks as fast as we can to get that money into that nonprofit's hands, so they can start the year with a little extra. 2019 with a little extra. So we're really, really excited. We're, really trying to push donors to come in. A lot of people do end of the year giving. We talked with somebody yesterday that said, well, I'm bringing the iPad to Thanksgiving, and we're going to, collectively, my family's going to find some things to support. And just that's what it's all about. And we're really trying to connect. We're hoping at the end of this, 7 weeks, those nonprofits are introduced to brand new donors, people that did not know that there is certain programs and projects happening in our community and how they can be involved. And of course, at the end of, the 8 weeks, all the nonprofits participating will get a donor report, so they can do wonderful thank yous and really, get to connect with that donor. And it's not just a check. You're going to get who provided that and how you can engage them and steward them to be another giver and to support your organization in other capacities.
I am beyond excited for you for this, because I think it is gonna be ridiculously successful. I am so excited. We will drop the link not only to your giving catalog in the comments below, but then we'll tag you in the post, and you can answer any questions that people might have. Not just to get on the list.
Directly.
Yep, and just for next year, hey, I didn't know about this. I want to get on next year, or hey, I've got some donors who might be interested in some of these things, and I think it's going to be awesome.
Thank you.
So just to backtrack, because you had so many hot takes there, and you had so much good information. I just want to give a quick recap of a couple of things that I jotted down. One of them is send your local community foundation and get them on your mailing list.
Absolutely.
They are paying attention to what you are doing as an organization, and they can help navigate these muddy waters of kind of how to clarify what a donor wants and how they want to feel great about their organization. That is super. That's like the best tip ever.
And I can't yes, absolutely. I mean, because that's being, and that's, obviously in our community foundation, other community foundations may be different, but I truly believe, community foundation, we're paying attention.
Yeah.
It's our job to pay attention to what's happening. Right. Working for a community foundation, we are really just temporary stewards of community generosity. And so we take that job very seriously. And, it's our job to learn, to know what is happening with boots on the ground. And we are in turn so grateful for the work that is happening with our nonprofits. We understand that I'm not the one providing the direct service, but by golly, I'm going to champion the people that are, and really be grateful and thankful for the work that they're doing.
That's awesome. And then the other little nugget that you dropped, and I love the idea here, which is your creation of relationships for fund advisors in the community as well. I mean, part of an organization's real sort of muddled task list is, how do I get in front of people who have the connection with our donors' money, and who's a wealth advisor or a planner or whatever. You're doing a lot of the heavy lifting behind the scenes in order to train them on how to think about philanthropy first, instead of as a passing entity. Oh yeah, by the way, if you want to give, you can work on that too, right? I think that's a super interesting fact, that you as an organization can work with some donor advisors, but you're also in the community foundations working on that as well.
Yep, and with that, sometimes people don't realize sort of the strings we have pulled on the back end to kind of connect folks a little bit.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't do it very publicly. We're not, here's Mitch, meet Jill, hold hands and go and give to each other. That's not really what's happening. It's a little bit more of kind of a different relationship and different type of style of stewardship that really happens on community foundations with fund advisors, and how we can do that. And of course, we're always, we're looking at the trends in philanthropy and how we do that better. I mean, we're certainly, not the experts, and we're looking at how we can steward donors differently, better, and more efficiently as we go forward. And as we continue to grow as a community foundation, we've grown, quite a bit over the last couple of years in regards to the number of funds, the number of fund advisors, and number of professional advisors referring, and how do we grow that relationship and then continue to steward everybody in a little bit of a different way.
I love it. And I think you'll find that a lot of donors don't necessarily like the big flashy sort of, it's all about you as a foundation. It's about them as a donor.
Absolutely.
This is not about, hey, look how awesome you guys are. It's about, hey, look how awesome you are as a donor, and we've got a path to get there, and we're going to help in as loud or as quiet as possible.
Yes.
You guys are a wonderful connector. I could talk about this for another hour and a half. We've already gone through our entire podcasting time today. Lexi, thank you so much. So give one more shout out, get what you're doing. You're starting today with the donor catalog, and we'll drop it. Anything else that you want to say? The floor is yours.
No, thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you for the work that you do, and really championing the work that's happening in our community for our nonprofits. And donors, community members, nonprofits, come connect with me if you haven't already. And we are incredibly grateful for the work that you do every day, and we wish you a very happy holiday season from the FM Area Foundation.
I'm ecstatic. Thank you so much for your time today. Again, we'll link everything in the comments below. Share and get a hold of Lexi and your local community foundation too, if you're not in the FM area, and begin those relationships. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Woo!